Alright guys, so today let's start talking about ratio notes. Anyone know we have ratios and fractions, right? Most of us are used to fractions. But a ratio is kind of like a fraction. They are very similar to one another. But a ratio is a comparison. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers or quantities.
I had to bring out my instruments and sorry, say that again, what? I had to bring out my instruments. Oh, he was in getting away his instruments. No, no problem, bye.
Make sure you tell your storm time teacher first, okay, bud? Because they marked you absent. Okay, so a ratio is a comparison of two numbers or quantities. A ratio can be written in three different ways. Anyone want to take a guess what one way might be? I kind of already gave you a hint at it. Ethan?
Fraction.
A fraction. So a ratio can be written as a fraction. What do you think, McKenna?
Decimal?
Not a decimal, but that was a really good guess. These next ones are probably ones that you might not have seen before. One is with a colon. And a colon looks like this. It's those two dots up and down from each other. That's a colon. And the last way is actually more how we say it. You write it like you say it. What do you think, Kaden?
Word form?
Okay, kind of in word form. It's more specifically what word would I write? Natalie? I would write the word two. So we would write it using a fraction, we would write it using a colon, or we would write it using the word two. Do you think I care which of the three ways you write it as?
No.
No. Which way do you think is the most popular?
Fraction.
Fraction's the most popular because we're used to working with fractions, right guys? Which way do you think is the next most popular? Colon would be the next most popular, and then the word two is last. We don't really write the word two because we say the word two. We're always saying it. So, here's the difference. A ratio and a fraction are not the same. They are two completely different things, even though they can look the same. So a ratio can compare different types of units. So they compare different types of units. That would be like I want to compare red paint to blue paint. If you do not have a pink sheet, raise your hand. Mr. Swanda will come give you one. Thank you.
Yeah, I made some more just to be on the safe side.
I appreciate that one.
It was no one let me budge.
Yep, I appreciate that one.
I even said your name, and they were like,
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, and then
So-
I said my name, and then I got thrown back to the line.
So Mr. Swanda, to give you a heads up, so we're now taking notes in class,
Okay.
obviously.
Yes.
But we are going to record, so that way I can still keep posting them.
You want me to shut the door?
Sure, I don't care.
And so you're basically telling me.
That way they can, well, don't say anything that you don't want on video or on recording. Yeah. We'll see if that picks it up. Okay, so a ratio compares two different types of units. Okay, cats, dogs, shirts, pants, blue paint, red paint, anything that is two different things where it is talking and comparing them to each other. Okay, a fraction compares part versus whole of the same unit. Meaning you're talking about the exact same thing. I'm talking about your tests, your quizzes. The number you get on top is the same as the number you get on bottom. Those two things are the same unit. So you got a 12 out of 15, that's the same unit. So anytime that they don't essentially have a label with it. So then they do have some things in common. You can compare same type of units. And they will look the same. Meaning that x over that y, that 3 over that 4, 4 over 5, 8 over 10, whatever numbers you plug in that place, they will look the same. So we now have to be able to take a phrase, a ratio phrase, these are our phrases, and write them on the line. You can write them in any of the three ways. We're going to write them in all three ways. So it says 5 cupcakes for every 2 children. We write it as we read it. We read from left to right. We write from left to right. No matter what's bigger, what's smaller, does not matter. So if I see 5 cupcakes to 2 children, 5 comes first. In this case, I'm going to do a colon, and then I'm going to put the number 2. That is my ratio. I write it, I read it, and I write it. What's another way I can write it? I wrote it as a colon. What's the other way, Peyton? I can write it as a fraction, so I would put 5 on top and 2 on bottom. It is perfectly fine to have an improper fraction with ratios. Is that understood? Do not change it. Got it? Peter, what's the other way? Say that again. I put 5, 2, 2. All three ways, have to know how to write them all three ways. Is that clear? Yeah. Izzy.
Would it be wrong if you put the 2 first?
Great question. The order in which you write these three does not matter. Like I have to have 5 and then 2?
Yeah.
I have to have that order. If I did 2 to 5, that would be wrong. But like I could flip around, like I could do 5 to 2 first and then write 5 colon 2. That order does not matter. That we write the three ways in, that order doesn't matter. But it has to be 5 first and 2 has to come second. That has to be true. Yes, Lindsay.
In fractions, if there's a first number and there's a second number, do you put the first number on top?
Correct, yes. First number will always go on top, second number will always go on bottom. Great question. So let's write this next one, guys. 9 dogs for every 10 cats. How would I write that one? Give me one way, McKenna.
You could have 9 and then colon 5 and 10.
Perfect. Natalie, give me another way.
You can use the word 2, 9 and 10.
Perfect. I can use the word 2. Last way. What is my last and final way? Jaden, what's the final way?
9 on top and then 6 down.
Perfect. Notice I didn't do straight up and down on that one, did I, guys? Yeah. Is a slash the same thing for a fraction sign? Absolutely. I accept both ways, okay? Alright, last one. I have 3 blue marbles to 4 green marbles. Owen, give me one way to write it. 3 colon 4. Nicely done. Destiny, give me another way.
3 to 4.
3, 2, 4. And the last way, Emily.
You could do a fraction with 3 on top and 4 on bottom.
Excellent. Do I have any questions on that, you guys? Now, what's the rule with fractions? All fractions must always be in what form? Simplest. So do you think ratios are the same way? Absolutely. So ratios must be in simplest form. So we're going to review simplifying fractions, because if we can simplify a fraction, can we simplify a ratio? Yes, we can. They're the same exact thing. Okay, so zoom out this a little. 10 and 12. Someone raise your hand and tell me what number goes into both 10 and into 12 that I can divide out of both. I want to divide a number out of 10 and a number out of 12, and it has to be the exact same number. Sienna? 2. So I'm going to do 10 twelfths divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is what, everyone?
5.
And 12 divided by 2 is? 6. Good. Same exact thing. I have 8 and 2, and I need to divide a number, out of 8 and 2. What number can I put into 8 and 2, everyone? 2. 8 divided by 2 is? 4. 2 divided by 2 is? 1. Okay, I have 4 over 1. What's another way to write 4 over 1, Ava? 4. Those two things, 4 over 1 or 4, means the exact same thing. That's one of our invisible math rules. You guys know I have that invisible math poster thing on the back of my wall. It's that orange one up at the very top. There is a denominator for one of every number. There's always a 1 underneath every single whole number, every single time. So that's that invisible math rule. Okay, what about 3/15? You can raise your hand and tell me, what number can I divide out of 3 and out of 15, Michael?
3.
I can divide out of 3. 3 divided by 3 is what, everyone? 15 divided by 3 is what, everyone?
5.
Last one, I have a 12 and I have a 40. What number can I take out of 12 and 40? Matthew? 2. 12 divided by 2 is what, everyone? 40 divided by 2 is what, everyone? 6/20. Is that in simplest form?
No.
So I need to keep going, right? So Alexis, what can I take out of 6 and 20? 2. 6 divided by 2 is? 20 divided by 2 is? And 3/10 is in simplest form. If I didn't want to take out a 2 twice, what other number could I have taken out the first time, everyone?
4.
4. I could have also taken out a 4, and I would have gotten the exact same answer. Is either way okay?
Yes.
Absolutely. You do what works for you. Any questions on simplifying? Now here's the best part. These are what we call equivalent ratios. These are what we call equivalent ratios. 10/12 is equivalent to 5/6. 3/15 is equivalent to 1/5. 8/2 is equivalent to 4. 12/40 is equivalent to 6/20 and 3/10. Equivalent means equal. They mean the exact same thing. They are different numbers, but they mean the same. You would get the same score on a quiz or a test if you got a 10 out of 12 and a 5 out of 6. You got the exact same grade. They're exactly the same. The numbers are just different. So just like, guys, we can make numbers smaller, right? Can we make numbers bigger? So if I took 10/12, what would I do to make that number bigger? Peyton? Times it. Do I care really which number I multiply it by?
No.
No, so I'm going to multiply it by 2. Let's choose the smallest number I can think of, so the math's really simple, right?
Yeah.
What's 10 times 2?
20.
What's 12 times 2? 10 twelfths and 20 24ths are equivalent ratios. These two scores right here would give you the exact same grade in the grade book. As long as whatever you do to the top is the same as you do to the bottom, you will do great. You have to do it on both top and bottom. So 8 halves, guys. Same thing. What do you want to multiply 8 halves by? 2. What's 8 times 2, everyone? 2 times 2 is? Make sure you're writing this down, guys. If I'm writing it, you're writing it. 16 fourths is the same thing as 8 halves. You would have the exact same grade in the grade book. Okay, 3/15. Now, I can multiply by 2, but I can also multiply by any other number, right? What's another easy number to multiply by? 3. I'm going to have to do 10. Why would I do 10? So all I have to do is what? Add a 0. Because what's 3 times 10?
30.
And 15 times 10 is?
150.
All I'm doing is adding a 0. It's pretty simple. Now, last thing I want to tell you is 3/15 and 1/50 is also the same as 1/5. It's also the same as the simplified, which means I don't have to start from 12/40. I could go all the way down to my simplified version. So I could do 3/10. Now I can't multiply it by 2 because I'd get back to 6/20, and I already have that. Could I multiply it by 3?
Yeah.
So let's multiply it by 3. What's 3 times 3?
9.
And 10 times 3?
30.
9/30, 12/40, 3/10, 6/20 all give you the exact same grade in the grade book. As long as you do the same to the top as you do to the bottom, you will be golden. Is that understood? McKenna?
I don't understand why you times it by 3.
Because I picked a random number.
Oh.
I picked any number I wanted. I already did 2, technically. Because 3/10 times 2 gives me 6/20. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to do 2 again because I already have that. So I just picked 3 because it was the next number.
Okay.
So I just picked any number. I could have done, we already did 4. I could have done 5. I could have done 10, 6, 8. It does not matter. You can pick any number you want and still be correct. Because that's the beauty of it. Whatever you do the top and the bottom will always be an equivalent ratio. Lindsay.
So why do you, on number 2, choose 8 over 2, and then on number 4 you choose 3 over 10?
Just to show you difference.
Oh, okay.
Just to show you that you could do the simplified fraction that you got, or the simplified ratio, or you could do the unsimplified ratio, and they're going to give you the exact same answers. Okay, good questions, guys. Okay, so we're going to now shut